Greetings all and sundry. I'm Chris Thompson speaking to you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada, and today hypnosis and NLP trainer Mike Mandel and I will be discussing mining for the resources in your life. So stay tuned.
But first, a disclaimer. In this episode, there'll be only one reference to St. Michael's College, University of Toronto, which we have no connection with whatsoever, and that was the reference. Lucci.
And the trenches were just swimming with filthy water and rats and old bandages, which is really depressing. So I headed over to Henry Squatter's tent to see if he had any real English tea left. Wasn't much of a tent, really. Just a rather bleak structure made from a number of cardboard tubes jammed into vinegar bottles and wrapped in brown paper. When I went in, Squatter was lying on his bed, enjoying himself. So I crept out quietly. I mean, whatever happened to that old style of fun and games we all used to enjoy before the Germans invaded France? That's what I want to know.
We are not witches!
That one in a while, so let's welcome to Ground Zero for personal enjoyment. A man of lyrical sensibilities who hates hearing stories about squatters sending himself flowers. And the Keith Richards of hypnosis, Mike Mandel. Excellent show. That's so funny. We were just talking about that because of that was your trip to the Dominican many years ago, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, but we're risking something serious here,
Yeah.
Chris. We're risking becoming R-rated because we talked about Squatter quietly enjoying
Yes.
himself.
Well,
We've
it's
mentioned
very
Squatter
careful.
sending himself flowers.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
numerous things here, but
None of
that's
these
all
things actually mean anything.
Right.
That's why
and
it's
the Ground
okay.
Zero
It's
for
a
personal
family,
enjoyment
yeah, it's
family show.
It's a family-friendly show.
What about usual banter promotion of AOH? Will I have a sip of this perfectly
Yeah, I
ordinary
think
coffee
you should
with no
do
whiskey
that
in it?
because so now we're recording this on February 24th, which is really exciting. It means less than 1 month until spring hits, and then the frickin' snow and cold weather will be gone because I don't like cold weather.
No, man, I love it.
It's February, which means by the time this goes live, it'll probably be sometime in March, and there'll be a couple of months before the Architecture of Hypnosis in May. It is filling up. We haven't really been promoting it other than talking about it at the beginning of podcasts. Yet people are signing up. So come to Toronto. I want to shout out to Paul, who's coming from Australia. He wanted to know, can you hear me, Clem Fandango?
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. That's
He
freaking
sent
weird,
me
man.
a hilarious message on Facebook
No,
Messenger
it's-
audio.
This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Can you hear
Of
me?
course I can hear you, Clem.
Steve. It was Steve. Is Steve the character in the...
I don't know.
Steve, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. This is Clem Fandango.
Oh, my goodness.
Really funny. Saturday Night Live stuff. Okay, so
No, it's not. It's
we're
British-
looking
Brit
forward to
comedy.
meeting everyone who's coming to Toronto, the World Hypnotic Epicenter,
Yes.
the Architecture of Hypnosis. It's been amazing because we did the November class 5 days. It had been 3 years since we taught it due to what everyone knows, delayed lives for so long. It's so great to be back in the classroom.
It was wonderful, Chris. And we had a psychologist come from India. Two people come from India, completely unconnected.
Yeah.
We had U.S. We had one from Israel, not our first, I don't think.
No.
Number from U.K. and a number from Canada as well. But yeah, we're looking to do a great one because we've got over 20 people already booked.
It's an experience, whether you want to use hypnosis professionally, whether you just want to get some new confidence and skills in doing cool hypnotic stuff and hypnotic language. I would say half the class will probably never do hypnosis professionally. They're just very interested and looking to build the toolbox so that they can use it in their everyday life.
Brilliant.
Which is
Well put.
Pretty
Well
much
put.
how we base this podcast. This is not really a hypnosis podcast anymore.
Well,
started
it's
out that
hypnosis,
way.
NLP, and personal development.
It's everything is hypnosis. Therefore, our whole lives are hypnotic. So if we incorporate hypnotic elements into a podcast about brain software, making your life awesome, it's going to be useful. So
I like
with
it.
that said, let's go to our 3 words, and then we have an entire podcast planned around resources to make your
know.
life awesome.
This is great. Now, interestingly,
gotta take my phone out of my
I did use the actual Savo Bukacek think tank because my
actual
SI
one.
joint problem was
This- yes,
stopped.
this is
I
the
used
actual
it.
Savo
Yes, it
Bukacek
really is
think
me.
tank.
Thank you, Scary. You think it was the amazing idiot?
Have you ever told that story? No, okay.
Nor will I. I won't give him any credibility.
Right.
So, narcissists. Think tank words. First one is colleague. We're going to go through
Colleague.
these all in order. The second
Yeah.
one is decimation.
Decimation.
And the third one is suffice.
Well,
weird, man.
I used to have a colleague who conducted his own self-decimation in his career, which sufficed to destroy his future. No.
He decimated his career through self-enjoyment.
Yes. I actually do have a former colleague who decimated his own reputation with one single action that sufficed to take care of it all.
I did a keynote in Amelia Island, Florida at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. And there was a guy there, the new VP for this communications.
Yes, the guy
and he
who
got up, gave a speech, and he was drunk.
Might have been under the influence of a little bit of booze.
And he decimated his career, was fired the moment he came off stage.
Yeah. So there you go. Now that's us tying them all together. But what does colleague make you think of? Anyone you work with, colleague, you could even extend it to family and friends, because colleagues in life.
Okay.
Right.
But the decimation aspect, if we have colleagues who are good, we don't want to decimate them.
No.
We don't want them to decimate
people
us.
Up. We want to be on the lookout for things that can decimate the good things. And maybe we also want to be on the lookout for opportunities to decimate the bad things.
Yeah, well, I think that should suffice.
So that's cool.
Scary using the third word.
And suffice actually is a great way to remind ourselves of, actually we can talk about this one, perfectionism. So somebody in our MMHA Engage group, I can't remember the name of the person who asked the question, but the question was, have a client and client's got perfectionism, how would you handle it? And my brain immediately went into Mike Mandel mode.
Thanks.
And I said, I'd be so tempted to trick the client and say, normally when we attack a problem like this, first of all, you elicit the SUD, subjective units of distress. How bad is your perfectionism? Maybe think about it right now. How bad can you push it on a scale of 1 to 10? I can make it a 9 just by thinking, okay, it's a 9. We usually strive to get these things down to a 0. That's the ideal. Now, if we could only get it to a 1 or a 2, would that be acceptable to you? Would that help you? Yeah, it would. Well, you're cured. You've just admitted that perfectionism is not an end goal here.
No, that's interesting. That's very Milton Erickson.
That would suffice.
That would suffice.
Yeah.
And the person would be your colleague again. It suffices because this is clear Milton Erickson stuff.
Yeah.
Using a paradoxical intervention.
Yes.
Where you're turning the problem against itself. Mm-hmm. So I would ask the person to explain on the same note, we have a different way of looking at it, but I'd have the person explain to me how it is they screw up their perfection. Mm-hmm. And if they do this all the time, and so they say, same thing, different approach.
You're perfect at screwing up your perfection.
Perfect at screwing this up. You're doing it perfectly. Oh, yeah. Interesting.
There's so many ways of, what did you say? You said it so eloquently, the paradoxical intervention.
Yeah.
That's it. You're introducing a paradox, and it's like cognitive dissonance in a way, too. They have to resolve it somehow by accepting that, I guess I don't have a perfectionism problem.
Right. They resolve it by accepting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice.
It's very... Okay, so there's our 3 words. We're going to see if we've been getting good at actually
I know. We're actually doing
them.
it. We used to use only one word. Remember that?
Yeah.
I think we should add one every week. Finally. Here's
it would be like the
72 words.
Johnnies.
Yeah. The 17 Johnnies. So what are resources, Chris? That's what we're talking about today. Resources. What are they?
Well, I would say that a resource is pretty much any experience, it's an experience that you have, which essentially means neural pathways in your brain, right? Because you can tap into those memories.
Yeah.
It would be anything in terms of an external tool, like a resource could be a hammer if you're building a house, or it could be a friend who could give you advice.
Sure.
So it's basically any of your own rich personal history, things that you know, or anything that you have access to that's not within your own body and brain.
Except... you're now giving me examples instead of a definition.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. I'm painting a picture of what a resource is instead of a definition. What's your definition?
A resource is, I don't really have one. I've got examples, but it's something.
What the heck is a resource?
It is an experience or mindset or piece of information or physical, whatever, that is useful in some context to you. As opposed to,
something that is useful. And what's the something? It's a part of your own personal history or knowledge or experience.
Or personal experience, yeah.
Or something external that you have access to, whether it could be a person, could be...
Well, yeah, so that's going to have to work. Tool. So what does it mean to be resourceful?
Well, I think to be resourceful, then it would mean to expand your awareness beyond just that zoomed in tunnel vision. I have a problem, and being in that stuck state. We often talk about the stuck state, right? So this is a good reminder for everyone here. If it's your first time listening or something, we have a present state. And if we're in that problematic present state, and all we do is obsess over the why am I stuck? Why am I unable
Why
to
does
get
everything
that jump?
happen to me?
Why can't I get motivated to exercise? Why do I always crave junk food at night? Why does
Stop,
my relationship...
you're killing me.
That is tunnel vision on the problem. And so by looking and expanding out and going, what is it you want instead? And defining the target state and thinking about that, and then we apply resources to aim ourselves and move towards that target state.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
How often we do talk in metaphor, isn't it? Thinking about clean language and that idea that every minute we're probably using something like
about every 10
six
seconds,
6 metaphors a minute.
It's certainly true. We do. And if we think of what it means to be resourceful, a great way of understanding it, I guess, is to give some examples. If you look at people like, Navy SEALs or British SAS, their number one thing is their resourcefulness.
Yes.
They can find ways to do stuff because they have such a schema, such a broad-based schema, and such a wide skill set.
Yes.
Module.
And resources
program
can
thing.
actually lead to resources. You just reminded me, I was doing my workout the other day and I was listening. Usually I listen to music, but I decided I would finish listening to a podcast. And it was 2 PhD evolutionary biologists.
Yeah.
And they just happened to get on this bit of a rant about someone who had done something stupid and they wanted to point it out. But they ended up with this example of, well, if you were accidentally stranded, like your plane crashed and you survived, into a jungle in Thailand, how would you survive? And well, you need food and shelter and all that, water and all that. Well, their resources were
Snake antivenom,
knowledge and experience of being in those kinds of environments and researching. Well, what would that resource, that knowledge, lead to? Actual physical resources like food and wood and ways to build a fire. And some of the resources were really clever. Like you might see a monkey and watch what it eats. And because you're a human and that's evolutionarily similar enough that you could determine, oh, well, if the monkey's doing this, it's modeling basically.
Right.
And we're talking about how science really doesn't produce answers. It produces models.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now that's true. And the test of a model, again, is its usefulness.
Which is a resource.
It's funny you said about the whole survival in the jungle thing. Heather's family had a quiz years ago out of some, popular science magazine or something. And it was, you postulate you're in a plane crash. You've survived. Everyone survived. It's in the desert.
Yeah.
And you rescue everything you can from the burning plane, and it gives you a list of everything. Said, but you're only allowed to take 5 of these with you.
That would be really hard for an Enneagram 6 to prioritize.
Well, yeah. But when I picked my first choice, her brothers, who are only in my estimation, I won't even say it.
Really intelligent?
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Her brothers laughed me to scorn until we checked the solution, and I was correct.
What was your
object? The number one
I
chose was a plastic raincoat.
To keep
And
yourself
they said,
dry.
you think you're going to get storms in the edge? And the one laughs like, like this, like I'm an absolute idiot. But they don't know you use it to make a solar still so you can get water.
Oh.
It's the number one.
Yeah.
So you cut a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
You urinate around it every time you urinate. You put a rock holding the thing sitting in, and the water condenses underneath it, flows into a can you have underneath it.
Oh.
And you can get like a quart of water a day if you have to, even in the desert.
Of course, because yes, interesting.
You have to be intelligent
Look at
to know that.
So
which is-
the whole idea of it's a raincoat, that was actually their tunnel vision thinking, this is a raincoat. It's to stop you from getting rained on. No, it's plastic, chunk up, right?
What else can you use it for?
Actually, that's a really good model in life when it comes to problems and solutions and all that. And this applies everywhere. Remember when you were talking about how you and Heather were driving to that barbecue at your friend so-and-so's house, I don't know, and you got in a stupid
horrible argument in the car,
and you make the joke
many
that
years
usually, of course we were being very sane. Well, and then you started laughing, going, well, what are we doing? Oh, we're driving to Bob's house.
You know what we're doing. You're the one
James'
driving.
house.
Yeah, right.
What
why
are
you
we going for? What is this?
Well,
an
to have
example
fun.
Of? Exactly. The example of what you were doing this
Chunking
thing, chunking up to. It's an example of having fun. Therefore,
everything we're doing is not
now
supporting
we've
that. Yeah.
Zoomed out. So when I think about resources and what stops people from having them, ultimately, I think about the metaphor of a zoom lens. and then hitting that back when my grandmother first bought us a VHS mini camcorder,
Gee.
and you hit the W button, which is wide angle, right? And then you
Do that
see
sound
more.
again. Do that sound again. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
really nice. All right, this is an outtake for you, Ross. And no, I'm kidding.
No, it
so
isn't.
That's to me is wide angle lens. Let's see more.
Oh, beautiful. You're pulling back from it.
But interestingly, when you wide angle too much, like now the iPhones, they have, my kids love this. They have that 0.5 lens, but if you go too close, it's all weirdly fisheye-ish or whatever, and it distorts. It doesn't have, I don't know what they call it.
Almost like a
in
fisheye
optics.
or something?
Yeah, well, it's not a fisheye lens, but if you zoom out too much, you can distort what you're seeing because you still need to zoom in to get a close view to analyze in detail.
We hope you've
So there's
enjoyed this episode on photography with Ansel Evans.
Right? In order to get resources, you have to be aware of what's around, but you still have to zoom in.
You have to zoom in and out. Now, that's a very good point. It leads to the law of requisite variety because I realize that applies here as well.
Yes.
Now, the law of requisite variety basically comes from cybernetic theory and states that in any system or group of systems, the system with the most options will be the controlling element.
Right.
Or the element with the most options will be the controlling element. So, like the microprocessor in the computer is the controlling element because it has the most options in behavior. Likewise, the variety of resources, having a lot of them, will add flexibility of response. If you have a lot of different ways of responding instead of just one or two, you're naturally going to be more resourceful.
Exactly. Somebody picks on you and, versus laughing, shrugging it off, walking away, ignoring them. There's so many varieties of response. Making a joke, flipping it around, reframing it, saying to yourself, what? Isn't this great in a weird kind of way?
Weird kind of way, yeah. Now, remember Gordon Emerson, who we got speaking into our group next month. And Gordon Emerson's, in my opinion, the world authority on ego states,
Join the Mike Mandel
subpersonalities.
Hypnosis Academy, everyone.
That's
Because
correct.
That's where we bring in the guests.
Ego states, subpersonalities burned into your brain. You're a committee, but he now calls them resource states, which I think is a wonderful reframe because it
Implies
doesn't
that they
see
have
there's nothing wrong
use.
with any of them.
Yeah, yeah.
They all have uses.
Oh, sure.
They all have
the one that goes into that
utility.
Let's say the one that starts an argument.
Yeah.
When someone, let's say, picks on you, is probably trying to defend you in some way.
Right.
Protect
so you make
from
its job
something.
easier. And so it becomes a resource. It's something you can draw from
Yeah.
instead of minimize and hope it doesn't
And
affect
it
your
can
life.
learn how to do its job better.
Let's have a sip more of this,
Right.
Chris. Go ahead,
Of
say
course.
something.
So, resources you've got here. By the way, I just want to also call attention to the last guest trainer this week. So earlier this week, we had William Wood as our guest trainer at the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. The recording is in the archive. If you join, you get access to all of these, and they're awesome. William Wood was phenomenal
Brilliant.
because he taught a lot of interesting things about just noticing trance when which is useful for everyone here. So not just hypnotists or hypnotherapists, but you can be watching someone talk and discuss their problems, and you'll notice when they get out of a resourceful state into this stuck state and kind of go into trance while they're imagining or thinking about it. And he'll do interesting things like asking them, where did you go right then? What was going on in your mind right then and there? And he brought this all back to the idea of present state, stuck state, target state, that's
Resource
the destination
state,
we
yeah.
want, and resources to get there.
Resources
which
to get
is
there,
such
yeah.
perfectly matching
resourceful
our
state when I
model
said
of
it.
the world.
Yes, it definitely, because it's largely true, meaning it corresponds
useful
to what
model.
happens in the real world. Yeah. Now, the more resourceful you are, the more options you have. And let's look at some of the resources that are physical, first of all. Now, let's look at obvious things like survival supplies. Things like a first aid kit is a resource. It's a valuable resource. An
and
EpiPen,
water.
if you go into
If you
go
have
into anaphylactic shock. Yeah. Water, vitamins, food supplies, shelter, medical weapons. Who knows? Like if you need them, if someone's breaking into your house, you're going to be happier if you've got a baseball bat to greet them with, instead of a sugar spoon.
Yeah, sugar. Hi, can I give
sugar
you
tongs?
Would you like a couple of eggs?
Yes.
Make an omelet. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Money, of course, is a huge resource, a
Money,
physical, but again, it
100%.
has the abstract quality as well. They say money is an idea backed by confidence.
Yes.
Physically.
Yeah, that's totally true. Because even if it was, even if it's gold, unless you're using the resource, the actual atomic metal,
right?
It's a tradable.
The old
good.
AU.
It's only backed by the idea that someone else will value it.
Yeah. And there's a finite amount of it too. Now, notice the last one I've got on the
Whiskey.
Whiskey, it's great. Now, this is not a stupid thing because whiskey or brandy.
You can actually trade
yes,
it.
if it all goes to crap,
which it
will.
Actually, it has.
It has, and probably will continue to. But if it all goes to crap, you're not going to be able to go and buy food with a 1 ounce Canadian maple leaf gold coin.
But you could trade a bottle of whiskey for a bunch of ground beef or something like that.
It's amazing. People will go for the wine.
And with all else failing, you can just drink the whiskey.
There is that.
There you go.
So we're not encouraging
something
drinking.
You can trade. But those are physical things. So, whether it be medical supplies, survival supplies, etc. Okay.
Now, general health and physical fitness are a resource. This is still physical.
Yeah.
Things like good blood markers. That shows you that your system is not collapsing.
Yeah, a resource could be a healthy cardiovascular system.
Absolutely. Aerobic
Arteries
conditioning,
that are not
I said.
clogged.
Aerobic conditioning. Strength and flexibility.
A metabolic flexibility within your own body.
And physical flexibility of the musculature and the skeletal system.
Strength of your musculature. I'll give you a good example. So my mother, who just turned 75, she joined a bowling league.
Oh, cool.
And she injured herself. She pulled the ligament.
10 pin?
Quite seriously. No, 5. Just the little balls.
Which ligament?
In the knee, like the behind the knee.
Oh, man.
Around the
hamstrings?
upper calf muscle, the one that would attach that. Actually, no, ligament is bone to bone. So it would have been probably one of the ligaments that would attach the, what do you call it? Either
fibula?
the fibula or the fibula or tibia.
It'd be the fibula
to
the
femur.
Yep.
Right. So one of those in the back.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. And
I had my I'm not being a narcissist here and self-referencing, but I had
it's all about me.
Sacroiliac joint problem, and that was all ligament. It takes longer to heal, especially when you're older.
Yes, these things hurt. So my point in saying this is that I am totally speculating here, but had she been conditioning herself on a regular basis to use the body that she has, I think there's a much less likelihood that she would have injured herself just by throwing a bowling ball.
Totally. Well, Chris, I'm a senior citizen, and in about 9 weeks, I'm going to be 70.
Yes.
But I go by Martin Burns' definition of physical fitness: the ability to rescue yourself, save your own life, and the life of another person your size in an emergency.
Yes.
That means carrying someone out of a burning building or whatever you have to do. I can freaking do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be more difficult to pick them up off the ground, I suppose, but you could probably do it with the proper techniques. And I've no doubt that you could fireman carry me.
Yeah, except with the SI joint. I could do it.
Yeah.
Easily do it.
No problem.
Well, not easily, but...
I like this. This is a good set of resources. I mean, good,
hand-to-hand skills.
Hand-to-hand,
you can save someone else's life.
Which is really neurological pathways. Your body knows how to act a certain way, right? They call that muscle memory.
But it's really brain memory,
Exactly.
And the whole idea, I'm sure Hickson Gracie, there's never been a time in his life when he thinks, I really wish I hadn't studied jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think that's ever happened. But I think there's probably a lot of people out there who think, man, I wish I'd studied jiu-jitsu before this happened. This kind of thing. Now, what about outdoor skills? Some people are great at this. Things like hunting and fishing knowledge.
Yeah.
You can get food. You can snare rabbits.
And you can even take this beyond survival, because outdoor skills might just be, now I have the resources to have fun. Right,
for sure.
I like playing football or soccer or golf
go off
or
into
whatever.
Algonquin Park for a week.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the resources of being able to, resources could be friends to play that sport with. A social gang of some sort. The skill to actually play it, so you feel good about yourself, that you enjoyed it. You didn't just totally suck at it.
Yeah, didn't suck at it.
Or at least the mental capacity to go, I'm improving, not I suck, but I am improving at this thing that I enjoy doing. But also from a survival standpoint.
And orienteering, map and compass.
Being
able to use that. Fortunately, with our phones now, of course, you have a map, you have a compass built in, you've got a GPS, all of those things. But if your phone goes south.
You ever think these days, like if you didn't have your iPhone on you, how screwed you'd be in so
Where is mine? Oh, it's here. Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. You know what? You know what I wish that we talked about being outdoors and skill set. One of my best skills was throwing lawn darts.
Oh, yeah. Those ones.
I whipped them so high in the air. These weighs like half a pound.
Yeah.
And no wonder they got rid of them. And people have it falling into their fontanelle.
When I was a kid, I think they called them jarts or something.
Jarts!
Yeah, there were, I don't know why, javelin darts, I guess.
It's horrifying.
But it was an actual, not a sharp end, but it was a metal end.
And if it's dropping...
It pokes into the grass and it stays.
Or into your fontanelle.
Now they make them, and they're stupid weighted little plastic ends. So they just kind of hit the ground and thud, and then they roll.
Where's the enjoyment in that? Like the Etruscan army, the general says, "Oh, we're going to take away those things, the spears. We're going to give you these really cool nerfy things, though. They won't kill anyone, but they're easy to throw."
They're annoying because you can have the perfect throw, but you're still left with this plus or minus X, the bounce factor. Because they're going to hit perfectly wherever you throw, and then they're going to bounce around. So it's annoying, and it removes
The
in
enjoyment.
my mind, yeah, the enjoyment of
Because the danger's gone.
Right, because you could have a crap throw, but just get lucky with the bounce,
I
and
hate
it ends
that.
up in the target. Anyway,
That's awful. You know,
Yeah.
it's like playing backgammon, being really, really good at it, as I am. And then you're playing some dick who's just learning the game, and he rolls the balls of fire, double six, like 8 times in a row, and thinks he's playing brilliantly.
yes,
You know,
and it's just luck.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to resources can be people.
Okay, so yeah, this is a really good one, buddy. You're one of my finest resources because
Back
if I
at you,
think
buddy.
back, okay, so 2008 is when we actually started MikeMandelHypnosis.com.
And was that when you were just mailing out?
Yeah, I was.
CDs or
Yeah, I had
something,
listened to Tim Ferriss. We have another podcast on the whole beginnings of all of this.
Do you remember how lame that website was?
Oh, it was horrible. I built it myself. I mean,
sorry.
I learned how to. That was a resource, though. A resource is 2 resources that I have. All right, one is I just don't give up. So I.
No, he does not.
I do not.
He will
freaking
not be
quit.
blocked or stopped. He will not.
But the other one that really goes along with it, these two align together, and funny my word of the year is align, is that I believe I can learn to do anything, practically anything.
Thank you,
I
Sia.
generalize and say anything.
Thank you, Sia. You should play the theme music for the.
So when I didn't know
Eagle
what the
Huntress.
heck I was doing, go, well, I'd like to start a website, and we should just call it Mike Mandel Hypnosis. And since you're going and doing these gigs and bringing your CDs to sell for cash, and
Do it
a lot
online.
of people maybe don't have cash on them. Well, what if they go to Google, the Google,
The Google,
they
yeah.
type in Mike Mandel, and they find our website, and I'll just ship them off as CDs.
Beautiful.
That's how we started in 2008. And I had to build this darn website from scratch. Didn't know what I was doing.
Well, remember,
figured it out.
My wife didn't even want you to do it. Remember,
Yeah.
she said, "Well, you still got to have your own website." I said,
no,
well,
that was it.
yeah.
Because you were never going to actually build it.
She had no idea what we were going to create.
Actually, this is a really good point because when it comes to people and friends and stuff like that,
Yeah.
think about this. You can have this idea, oh, well, one day I'll do this. But this guy's just offered to do it for you, and maybe it won't be as perfect as you imagined, but,
Right.
but it's done, and that's better than
won't be
some
onerous,
crap.
yeah.
Like, actually, here's a really good example. We want to create a way to ship merchandise to some of our customers, right? Like these T-shirts and
Yep.
this is the
Not this
older
one.
logo now, but which we're switching. But the mugs. Well, we could
These
set
reading
up
glasses.
we could set up our own web store that we can at least just go in and internally order stuff on, right?
Yep.
And ship to people.
But
Well, we have a wonderful friend, Michael C. Anthony,
Yes.
who's a freaking genius he's very tech savvy. He's good at
Very.
hiring people to do stuff for him, and he's really artistic. And
Yeah, he's
he
got good
built
skills.
hypnoswag.com. And we're like, well, if people want to buy their own stuff, they can just go there and we can put our stuff on his
In his
site,
store.
and it's done.
Yep.
Is it as perfect as if we built it ourselves and we
No.
had total, because I don't want to bug him to make little changes or
yeah.
whatever, but it's done and we have it, and that's a resource.
and we built
because-
it on rock and roll, buddy.
yeah, because
we
he's
did.
a great friend of ours. And also Stage Hypnosis University, he's the guy who started it.
He is.
He's the guy we send everyone to in the world if you want to become a serious stage hypnotist as a career.
Excellent, because
Yeah.
he is great at all that stuff. I just hit the microphone. We'll edit that
Uh-oh.
out. Resources can be best friends, people you depend on and
Yeah.
can depend on. I remember when my self-defense system I was teaching, I took to Britain, and there was a clash, and one guy left and took a bunch of people with him. And you, Pep, and Adam Sutherland said, screw him, we're staying with you.
Oh, yeah.
And the
I
three
don't
who
wanna go with
stayed,
that guy.
these guys, they proved they were real friends. And Heather and I still talk about that.
Yeah.
That was awesome,
I
man.
still remember when Adam called me and said, okay, so we're going to be temporarily practicing out of the, what was it called? Not the rec room, but like
sort of a
the
rec
shared
room.
room.
Yeah,
in his apartment building where he lived, they had a space, like a common room. That
Mm-hmm.
was it, a common room kind of thing. We're just going to move the furniture out of the way. And I think for 3 or 4 weeks, that's where we did jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we did.
And then we got a new spot, and we were there for years.
Built
and
a better
it was phenomenal.
resource.
And what resources do we need? To buy new mats and to
Yep.
buy things
Practice
that we
dummies,
needed. And
lawn darts.
And then what did we need as a resource? We needed people, friends to show up and practice with, somebody to teach us new stuff, which was you and Adam.
Yep.
And mats. That's it.
That was pretty well it.
Yeah.
Remember in that kindergarten, it was funny. It was a low ceiling. If you did overhead throws, people hit their feet on the
Yeah.
ceiling. It was kind of
That's
cool.
right.
But you think about it. Now there's And resources can be employees. Resource can be our neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, we have a neighbor next door. We don't know her well, but we've become friends, and she's a very nice woman. So now she's become a friend from being a neighbor, and she's becoming a better friend all the time.
Did you say resources can be employees too?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, they
you know
can.
what? And that's a really good. So the word align, again, coming back to my word for the year, inside of our team for Mike Mandel Hypnosis, I realized that we actually could do a better job of aligning people with their natural resources, things they're good at that they like doing.
Yeah.
What would be, if you were to imagine this as an X and Y axis, you're good at it and you like doing it. You want to be way up,
Sure,
way up
the
to
sweet
the top.
spot, yeah.
Right. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't want to have people doing things they suck at that they hate.
No, you want to plug people into where their skill set is.
Yeah.
And with our organization, there's 8 of us.
Yeah.
And it takes time. Yes, there are 8
Is
of
it
us.
8? Yeah.
Yeah.
Might
But
be more now.
I think it's 8. Oh, no,
Yeah.
it might be 9 with,
Yeah.
with new guy.
Yeah.
So the thing is, what Chris has done brilliantly is through discussion, we've figured out in our weekly meetings, team meetings, finding people's strengths and people's weaknesses. So we're just shuffling things around, and we're
100%. Yeah, and we totally recognize, because I am this way. If
You are so that way.
If I have too many plates spinning,
Yeah.
I will forget about things that I've got to do. And we have people
Metaphor.
We have people on our team that are just like me in
Yep.
that way.
Well, it's me.
Right?
Me too.
Yeah, you're probably
I can't
like that
do it.
way
I'm
too.
the worst.
So, and I'm not going to name any names because everyone knows who we talk about this and make fun of ourselves.
Right.
But it's totally true. Like if you give somebody 6 different tasks that are all important, and oh, by the way, I also need this. You just like throw it in a Slack conversation or something, or toss it out as an email or a Facebook Messenger post or something. You think that's going to stay organized in the person's brain if they're already naturally the kind of person that likes to just focus in and get one thing done, and then these other 6 things that are floating around in the periphery, they just get deleted.
Well, bro, totally.
And I'm not organized enough to remember them all.
Right. And the thing is, yeah, we're going to talk about that over lunch, actually. Serious. No, the interesting thing is working within your strengths. That is being resourceful.
Yeah.
If you attempt to do stuff that you're not good at, you're not resourceful anymore. It just doesn't. Remember I said to you, my metaphor was Tom Henke, the Terminator. When he used to pitch for the Jays, he was the best closer they had. And I love that guy. I got a signed Tom Henke baseball.
Just give me the
And
ball.
they'd say, Tom, do this. He'd say, just give me the ball. Just give me the ball. And I said to you, just give me the ball.
Yeah, that was your
Put me in front of an
metaphor.
audience or whatever.
Oh, this is such good timing because 2013, so 10 years ago, when we started filming the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy,
Yes.
I presented the idea to Mike. I said, look, not everyone can come to Toronto for Architecture of Hypnosis. So what if we were to produce this, and instead of making it super expensive and, the multi-hundred or $1,000 box of DVDs, which is what other people were
Right.
selling back
Yeah.
then, we make it a membership. It's like Netflix or your phone or your cable bill or whatever. You can join. You can be a member as long as you
And you
want.
can split if you
access
want.
this stuff. And I'll do all the work. I'll video it. I'll edit. I'll do everything. I'll build the website, the membership, the e-commerce, this and that. All I need you to do is teach. He goes, just put me in front of the camera.
Yeah, just give me the ball. Yeah, man.
That's
it. Good. Now, I said another resource of people. We're going to have to fly through these, but it's just going to be a good one. Family members who aren't insane.
Yeah.
That can be difficult to find.
and a resource if they are.
Certainly
if
in my
you
own
do,
case.
if they are. People in
Unless
general.
insanity becomes a resource. Like,
Well, a really good resource can be the mental state of how to deal with the lunatics, right? Because we get a few
Nice.
in our business, in our lives,
We get the
etc.
lunatics.
We get sometimes. I mean, we gently say lunatics. We don't necessarily mean that
They're
they're actually
actually
clinically
crazy.
crazy. Maybe they are. Some of them probably are.
Freaking
but the
insane.
reality is, one of your resources can be to simply ignore this crap.
Yeah.
And just go, you know what? If I don't respond to this, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
If an email comes in and it's totally weird, I hit delete.
I love that.
Just hit delete.
I delete vast portions of my life.
And that's a good metaphor. Hit delete.
Got a cough.
I'll cover
There,
it
no,
up
I did. We
with
did
random
something off the-
nonsense.
Okay, now look, let's keep moving. Experts. Find experts, which are people. Bank managers.
Oh, yeah.
Financial people. Teachers.
Accountants, lawyers.
Librarians.
Yeah.
Fitness coaches. Graphologists.
That's right. We are experts at what we do, and people
Hypnotists.
come to us as a resource.
Chefs.
Right? But we go to resources too.
Definitely.
I mean, I used to go to a barber, but now I just, cut my own hair and stuff. But okay, no, you just
Remember that? I said to a guy in the audience, you cut your own
I don't
hair.
make
you?
my own
And you make
clothes.
your own clothes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you cut your own hair
And you make your own clothes. Boy,
That's
did they ever
I
laugh. That
can't
was
believe
brilliant. I don't even know why I said
Did
it.
you just invent that
Yeah,
off the top
on the
of your
fly.
head?
Yeah,
That's
it's high school
such a
gig.
funny line.
This idiot in the front row.
Yeah, he was just heckling you, right?
Yeah, just being a dick.
But obviously, most of us don't make our own clothes because we're not experts. We go to a store,
Right.
where a
Or a
company
seamstress, a
hires hired
professionals,
awesome
seamstress.
designers to make these things.
Yeah.
So, yes, you don't do everything on your own.
Now, leaders and
Mm-hmm.
mentors, people who are further down the road of life than you are or than we are. It's important to connect with those people, not for the sake of leeching all their stuff, but a lot of people who are willing to be mentors will help you. I worked with a really nice hypnotist, we'll just call him Ray, yesterday online, just gave him some of my time because when I consult to companies like HipProp, I charge a lot of money, even for a Zoom meeting. And he thought he was going to have to pay like that. I said, no, just send me a good bottle of scotch or bourbon.
I like
We talked
your
about whiskey
line.
again. People are going to start thinking there's a
that's
problem
right.
here.
Well, you're almost 70. By the time this goes out, you won't be.
No, I won't.
So, so if you do feel like sending gift bottles of fancy whiskey, Mike will accept them.
No Canadian
Yeah, no,
whiskey.
there you go.
Irish, Japanese, Scotch, and American.
I want to mention, though, that I love your line about what do you charge? Well, my fee is my fee. What's your, do you want to
That's the Sherlock Holmes line. They say, well, can you give me a discount? I say, my fee never changes unless I drop it completely. And that's what I do.
Bingo.
Either charge
That's
you
the
my
best
full
way to do
rate
it.
or none whatsoever. I do help people sometimes. Now, resources can be abstract, Chris. A powerful memory.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into human Gibbons theory.
Yeah.
Hypnosis skills. What a great gift that is.
Yes, language skills. A resource can be also your ability to present yourself confidently and congruently. The Mandel triangle: confidence, congruence, and intention. If you can go into a situation with that Mandel triangle in place, that's a freaking resource.
You'll
right?
dominate the room. You really will.
Yeah.
And in a good way. And organizational ability. My wife is the most organized human being in the world. I've said, I had an ear itch and a bad fever in England in my last tour there in 99. And not last time I've been there, but the last tour. And I said, just wait, something to scratch my ear. She put 3 Q-tips with a rubber band. I found it in my kit. And I was like, oh, thank you,
That's
God.
hilarious.
And I found a tube of 222s, which were Canadian over-the-counter aspirin with codeine for my fever and body aches.
Bingo.
Organizational ability blesses other people. When we are disorganized, a disorganized world, much the way this studio is, you can't see it, but
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness you can't.
but he knows
see
where
the
everything is, so
mess.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Now, what about a logical mind? Cause and effect thinking. If this, then that.
Well, that's a huge resource because it will allow you to actually counteract some of the junk science that goes out there these days, where
Yeah.
people go, oh, well, I can't remember who put this study up. I'm not going to change it. But let's say it was, well, those people who drink less coffee get in more car accidents.
Oh, yeah.
Well, somehow now we're tying cause and effect from coffee to car accidents.
What about all the other variables that are not being tracked?
Yeah, so if you understand how statistics works and you understand things like the difference between an observational study and a clinical trial, or you understand confounding variables, that can be really helpful in life.
Interesting you should... Interesting you should say that. The Royal Commission under Louis XVI that investigated Mesmer, although it wasn't actually him, it was one of his students.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the first time in history, because Benjamin Franklin was on the committee, it's the first known case of a double-blind study.
Interesting. Okay, so this was Mesmer. So remember, Mesmer, the history here is he was the one who thought that he had
currents.
magnetic powers because he forgot his magnets one day, and when waving them over a
Severed
cut open vein,
yeah.
which was from the bloodletting from. Remember, we were telling my daughter this over dinner
Yeah.
the other night. It was great, and the vein closed because he didn't have his magnet, so he faked it with something
pointer, a
else.
wooden pointer.
And he thought, it must be me,
I'm Mesmer
Magneto Man.
Yeah, he's a dick.
And
I mean, he was. He was.
so there was a royal commission to investigate these magical powers, and they determined, nope.
It wasn't resourceful for him. Okay, so we said a logical mind, cause and effect thinking. Stable emotions are a resource.
Yes.
They keep you calm under pressure. People mistake their
State
emotions for their
management,
state
basically,
management.
right?
People mistake their emotions for who they are. Your
Right.
emotions are just nothing more than bioelectrical storms happening in your brain. That's
100%.
all they are. Let's go quick. A powerful imagination.
A powerful the ability to go quickly, to
Right.
imagine yourself finishing this podcast in sufficient
Stay
time
with,
to do the
but
rest
stay
of
with
our
the
work.
notes. Stay with the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now, a powerful imagination enables you to be creative, a good sense of humor.
Yes.
British Army is notorious for having black humor, which is nothing to do with people, but it's everything to do with dark humor to take the edge off bad situations. And when
Edward de Bono's green hat is the imagination, right? His green hat
it's
for
creativity.
ideas. Creativity,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but the humor comes in with the guys in the Falklands War. We're going to go in and make this attack at night to Pebble Island. And the other guys would do things like carry the guy's stretch, like his bed between them and sing the death march. One guy said, "Oh, can I have your boots when you die? Because you're not going to come home from this.
Yeah.
It's going to kill you. Oh, by the way, I can I have your wife." Like, right? Just
Oh,
the joke,
brutal.
but it eased
Yeah.
the stress.
Eases
being able
the
to joke
stress
about
and
it.
of course, makes
but
the-
humor's important. Spider sense. Now, this is interesting.
Intuition.
Situational awareness, being able to track unconsciously things going on around you, recognizing that trouble is brewing. I was in England with a number of people one year. We're walking through London, and nice afternoon, and my spider sense went off. There's something wrong, and I'm unconsciously calibrating. There's a lot of people all moving to one particular area. Some of them were really scary looking punk rockers and that, but not just punk rockers, but violent looking skinheads. And I'd say, we're not going there. And everyone else said, oh no, it's fine. And I said, no. And there was like an uprising, a riot after
Something
that.
happened.
Yeah.
And you stayed away from it.
Stayed away from it. Remember to switch on. Free time is a resource.
Free time is a resource. That's right, because it allows you to learn new things or just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Caffeine
Exactly.
enjoyment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Get fit. You can even use it to sleep, which is
Yes.
good. Mental.
How much free time will suffice? Notice
How
that?
nice.
Oh.
Very good. Mental resilience. Not giving up when the chips are down.
That's
that can
me.
be taught. Yeah, that's you in spades. I'd switch on my indifference and just stop caring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at you're
And
saying it like it's a problem.
I'm not gonna say here that I don't ever get frustrated or overwhelmed. Sometimes I need to step back and take a break, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the same as quitting.
Oh, no. No,
So-
absolutely
Yeah.
not. Good. That's good. The ability to switch off and go into downtime.
Yeah.
And, I had a situation last night. I couldn't get into my house, and it was like
Yes.
10 below zero. My wife couldn't hear me. I bruised my hand banging on the door so many times. It was locked out. But
Was there
it was
luggage
hard to
outside?
switch off because I had adrenaline in my system when I
Yeah.
went to bed. But generally speaking, I can change my breathing and that. Go into downtime, get the breaks. State control, you mentioned it already through NLP or other methods. You can do submodality shifts. That's a
And
resource,
state
that ability.
control and downtime, in my opinion, work really well together for things like self-hypnosis and power napping.
Brilliant.
Because if I want to have a power nap, I usually lie down in the same spot with the same music.
So it's anchored.
The same hand position. I usually clasp my thumb. And I close my eyes, and I am simply determined I am falling asleep. And I start to go into trance, and I fall asleep. Here, you just don't open your eyes. Keep them closed, and let yourself fall asleep. It works every time.
You can anchor it to just about anything.
Yeah,
Right? Or you
yeah.
could wear
I
an
just-
Alice every
I
time
just-
you're going to take a break.
I just
and your
started
brain says,
anchoring
"Oh."
it to a thumb clasp because it was a more comfortable way to keep my
Well, it's interesting.
hands from falling
With Jin
down.
Shinjitsu, that's the anxiety spot. So you're doing it
So I
intuitively.
started
It's also the
using it
overthinking.
by accident, and I continued using it because I now have this logical explanation
Right.
for something that just emotionally felt like a good way to prevent my hands from
Exactly,
slipping
yes. Now, self-therapy. You can
right.
deal with your own fears, anxieties, phobias, as we have. He didn't have phobias,
I'm
but
a
I
bit
did.
afraid to do that.
Shut up. Generative change.
Yeah.
You can make
learning,
things better.
Yeah, it's like the metaphor of learning how to fish, right? You can go to someone who will feed you, or you can learn how to fish for yourself.
Yeah, you
And
can learn to catch
so
them, yeah.
This is why we have the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy to teach people how to help others. But we also have the personal growth membership, which is all about you.
You. It's
Helping
about you.
and it's awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
and very affordable, by
Now,
the way.
curiosity. This is really important because curiosity can lead to problem solving. It can it cause you to explore new fields of endeavor. When you're curious about something, you get a great chance to mine for new resources and find them that will be with you forever.
True. That's a really good.
Which leads to
note.
the ability to let go of past mistakes.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
stay with the crap. Don't. If only. I had a friend
yeah.
when I was in my 20s. This guy, he actually would say, "Why does everything always happen to me? Why doesn't anything bad happen to you?
Yeah.
Why?
Do you know what? You know what this just made me think of?
I'm afraid to
Hilariously. Okay.
What?
So this is a total joke. So many, many years ago, probably on the order of 20 years ago, my wife and I were up on our way to the family cottage.
Okay.
And we stopped at a restaurant in Fenelon Falls called the Cow and Sow, in case you've ever heard of it or whatever.
Okay.
And with her parents, and we had food. I had ordered the hamburger. I wasn't on a low carb at that
What
time.
were you wearing?
Well, no, they served the hamburger. The important thing is they served it with a pickle spear. You know, the quarter pickle or
Yeah.
something. She stole it off my plate and ate it when I wasn't looking. And I joke that I've never forgiven her for this. Of course I have. But it comes back
Clearly
as one
not.
of those.
When you're bringing it up again.
Because I loved the pickles that they served were so good. But the idea to let go of past mistakes, it's like, remember that time you stole my pickle? Let it go. Let it go.
My buddy Brian, who he's probably listening to this, he listens to all our podcasts, he told me the other day, I remember he said when he was a kid, when he'd do something wrong, like break his glasses or something,
Yeah.
and his mom would get really mad at him, and his dad would get really mad, and they just almost exhaust the issue and start to calm down and would say to him, what was that stupid thing you did last week? And then that would all be unpacked, just like resonance.
You told that story once, I think, in this podcast.
Oh, man.
Oh, my
All right,
goodness.
now,
Yeah, so letting go
rapport
is a
skills
skill.
builds bridges to other people.
Hi.
That's a crucial skill. Hi, Chris. Yeah.
Actually, people often ask me the question because Mike always calls me Captain Rapport. I'll accept that because I think I'm naturally good at building rapport. Here's why.
Why, Chris?
When I go into any situation,
Yeah.
I go in assuming that the other people already like me or are about to like me because they don't know me yet. But I just assume that. And I smile and I'm friendly. And I don't
Maybe
say-
that's why I don't get
say
as much
dickish
rapport as you.
things.
Because I go into most conversations with the presupposition the
That
other
you're gonna
person
get out of
is
it.
already a dick. And they're going to have to convince me otherwise.
Yeah,
I don't.
actually,
Kidding.
that's a really good thing that I didn't even talk about. But unconsciously, I am assuming that these are nice people.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So you're
wanna be-
treating them
I want to
accordingly.
be friends with these people,
Totally.
and they want to be friends with me, and it's going to happen. That's the Mandel triangle. That's the
It
intention,
is.
right?
I agree with you 100%. I was
go
only
in
joking
there
about
and be
treating
nice.
people
Now,
like
if you
dicks.
do discover that someone's a dick,
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, leave.
You can fire them from your life. Okay.
Nice. Now, literacy and rich vocabulary. I'm clearly the only human being left on the planet who still thinks this is a vital thing that one should do is to become literate
What are you
and
talking about?
intelligent and so on. Say things other than. It's one of my relatives. You tell a joke, everybody else has laughed. 5 seconds later, she goes.
Oh, you know, it's a great habit. Whenever you are about to use an expression or a word that you think fits in a situation, but you're like, is this spelled correctly? Am I
Never happens
using
to
it?
me. Never.
Am I using it correctly? You wouldn't happen to you, but Google it. Look it up and find out. There is one of my pet peeves that I notice so often is when people say, I should have.
Oh, instead of should
I
have.
should have
Instead of I
gone
should
to
have.
the store.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, of is not a freaking verb.
Buddy, the one drives me. Now, why have you missed? We could do a whole podcast
Yeah.
just on pet peeves.
Oh, my goodness.
We probably should.
Oh, I
Pressure.
should have.
I can't stand off of. It
Yeah,
fell
off
off of the
from.
floor. It
Yeah.
fell off of the table. No, it fell from the table or it
Yeah,
fell
or
off the table.
Yeah, not off of.
Off of.
Yeah, off of. It's off or it's from.
If someone says off of, I'm
I've
going to
s-
say F off.
You have
Wasn't that
caught-
brilliant?
Yeah, you've caught me doing that a lot. So there, good point.
Okay. Now,
okay.
what about anti-resources? And we're rounding up here. Do they exist? Yes.
I noticed you skipped by the list that says what else.
Well, yeah,
Chris? 'Cause of course
it
I've
could be
been
what else
joking.
can. Yeah. So toxic people in your environment are anti-resources.
Yes, the
some
people who
people
drain
are
your
energy
energy.
drainers. Just
Yeah.
being around them is exhausting. My wife mentioned one the other day, and it's actually someone you know, but I won't say it on here in
Okay.
case anybody knows.
Okay.
But this person can just suck the energy out of a room and just be like,
The downer.
not even a downer, just drawing all the interest and enjoyment out of life, like a black hole.
Oh, like everything's negative. The
No,
black-
not
like-
even that. That's the next one. The whiners and the
Oh,
complainers.
okay, so-
the constantly negatives. It's a narcissist person. I'm talking narcissist who is
Okay.
just draining because of their narcissism. They're the black hole of self-reference and everything.
Okay, you tell
Now-
me at lunch because I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, let
Yeah.
hear it. Good on the list. Well,
Okay, so we got whiners and complainers. Actually, I was reading Six Thinking Hats.
Oh,
And,
great.
You know, the black hat is all about the negative,
Negative,
right? But
which
the
has its
idea that
place.
It's not an emotional negative. It's actually logically negative. Well, what happens if our website gets hacked?
Right.
That's not well, I'm scared. It's not a red hat emotional
Right.
anger or something like that. It's logic, right? You're applying logic and thinking about what are all the negative things that could happen so we can now plan against them.
what's a blind spot here that we're missing?
Yeah, like a good idea.
yeah.
Why do you have a baseball bat by your front door? Let's say.
Well,
Well,
I think
because
you know.
somebody could try to break into my house, and
I don't wanna have to go and look
That's
for it.
not-
Yeah.
That is not being negative.
No.
that is simply
being
black.
immensely
That's black
positive.
hat thinking, and then solving the potential problem.
Yes.
in advance. Negative is about the emotions. It's all just the whining and the complaining and the worrying all the time.
Well, some people
without
do that. They just
justification.
constantly complain, and we had a friend like that, and everything is, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Yeah, I guess I should.
You have-
It was always that.
Oh,
I guess I
another
should.
example of that, and there are people close to me in my life, I will not say who, that I have this constant effort to teach them not to do this, which is to blame others.
Oh, yeah,
rather than
yeah.
taking responsibility, living life at effect rather than at cause, right? Well, it's not fair. Blaming someone else. This is in the same
I
category
love
to
it.
me as
It's
whining
that,
and
so I don't
complaining.
love it. I love what you're
Yeah.
bringing up. It's that line. life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you
What you
respond
do
to it.
and
Yeah.
how you
But
respond.
We'll do that. Do the next one. Do the next one. Then we'll alternate.
Okay,
You
well, we
do the
got
next one.
morons. I think
Okay.
we've covered that. Generally stupid
okay, so I'll say
people.
chronic losers, people who never learn and never care to learn. It's easier to complain and not really doing anything.
Mooches.
Mooches, yes.
People who-
I know she skipped one.
Yeah, I did.
Put there for the humor.
I thought that was very funny.
Brilliant.
Mike, and
Trying to get you to read it out loud.
We'll just leave it there.
Okay, a mooch. I can't stand mooches. People who I like being generous. I like giving money to homeless people. I like gifting relatives, kids, and that with money or gifts of books or something. But people who then begin to expect it. What are you laughing at?
I know a guy I used to work with in the telecom industry
Yeah.
before I moved to Toronto and got into the finance space. I was working for a telecommunications company, and there was a guy. I'll just say his first name. His name was Matt, and he's actually a really nice guy, smart. He's been very successful. Every time that we would go out for a group lunch, he always forget his wallet. Always need to borrow it.
man.
And then would always forget to pay back whoever
It's
lent him
terrible.
the $20.
Paul
for
and I
pizza.
used to hang out
Yeah.
with this guy we were helping along. He was kind of socially awkward, nice guy, but he was an Enneagram 5, so he was always afraid he didn't have enough.
Yeah.
The fear of penury, but which means poverty for those of you in Kirkland Lake. So anyway, this guy, he had a job. He never put his freaking hand in his pocket. Oh, can we go out and
Yeah.
get coffee? So we got a big Starbucks. He'd just wait for us to pay. Then when he started doing it with sub sandwiches and stuff, you're paying like $12 for this guy's job. He says thanks, but it just never occurred to him. Oh, these guys are always paying for it. I'm not his freaking dad.
Yeah. One I was going to say my daughter learned this lesson.
Okay.
And this is just a lesson I think most people have learned who are reasonably nice and kind and honest. How many times have you been in a situation in your life, Mike, where let's say you're at a dinner with a bunch of people and you're all going to split the bill?
Yep.
Right? Not because now we just go, it's business expense.
Yeah, just write it off, yeah.
But you're going to split the bill amongst a bunch of people.
Yeah.
One person takes out their credit card and says, that's okay, everyone else can just put in their appropriate amount of cash or whatever the case is, right?
just throw it in.
Nowadays you can transfer people.
Yeah.
And you're just assuming that everyone can do math and be honest.
And just round up yours so
Yeah.
you're putting in a bit extra.
Yeah, you would put in a little extra, but every single time that I've ever been in a situation where this has happened
Yeah.
that I can think of, I'm always way short, right? Because some dick, most of them, haven't figured out, take your bill, add the tax, add the tip, and round it up to the nearest dollar
Yep.
or two, just to make sure you're not shortchanging. And everybody else is shortchanging, and you're ending up contributing like $20-$30 more than your share of the meal.
Oh, that's infuriating.
Yeah.
But you know who's great at that? And I'm serious, I'm doing the hand.
Who?
Carl Smith. Because remember when we went in near
he'll
Rendlesham
just tell
Forest?
you what you owe.
Went to Rendlesham
You,
Forest.
boom, yeah.
And we ate at that wonderful Indian restaurant, a bunch of us, about 12 of us,
Amazing, yes.
with
and he knows.
Tamsin.
He's a
and-
former cop, so he
Correct.
knows.
So he's looking at. He said, "Yeah, we need another 20 pounds here. Need another." He said, "Well, let's give the guy a decent tip. Let's throw." He just makes sure that it's done, which is good.
Which is, if you think about it, what's his style of hypnosis? He's very
direct.
and very
Yeah,
direct,
very direct.
right? He's not going to be the guy who sits there and says, I wonder if you'd consider possibly chipping up another few pounds so that we could perhaps offer a decent tip to this waitress, right?
We'll let it
that
out.
was a very bad.
It's all right. We'll let it out. Now, narcissist. Yeah, no interest.
There you go.
Other anti-resources, ongoing illness requiring special care or treatment. That's why it's important to have the resources to prevent as much of that as possible. Remember, the death rate is still 1 per person no matter what we do. So we're not saying you can stay
And
alive
you know
forever.
what? A resource could be a proper insurance plan.
Nice.
Because
That's
depending on
good.
where you live, you might need that to deal with somebody who gets sick, whether it be you or your loved one, right?
Totally. Like
Yeah.
when you and I go to Las Vegas or England, I always get
the
extra
medical
health care and
insurance,
everything.
right.
So I got enough freaking health care where we go. I could be flown back from Britain on, a military jet or something, and then it'd be amazing. Not worth getting sick, though. Then
No.
time constraints.
Yeah,
Other demands on your time, wasted time. Time running out because you're getting older and your bucket list is not touched.
And so
I
your
hope I get
resource-
to it someday.
Your resource might need to be decision making. In other words,
Brilliant.
like this is the stuff that isn't valuable in my life that I can cut
I
out.
heard a bit of Arnold
so
there
that I can.
when you said valuable.
This is the stuff that's not valuable. I'm going to cut this out of my life so I can redeploy the time elsewhere to do the things that I want to do.
Brilliant.
go.
10
All
out
right.
of 10. 10 out of 10. That's a resource you've got.
There we
Arnold
go.
Impressions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can scare people on the phone and say you're coming for them. Yeah.
Listen
What
to
about
me now.
procrastination and apathy? No, they're not the same thing. Procrastination is putting things off. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later until it becomes out of control. And you got to do it now. But apathy it's not even caring enough to put it off. It's just, I don't know, maybe I should. That's really bad.
Yeah, it's something that in the back of your mind, maybe you should do it, but you just can never be bothered to get around. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Procrastination puts it off. Apathy goes, your relationship is falling apart with your spouse. And the person goes, yeah, I guess I should do something about it.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Apathy is one of those words, by the way, that I would go, I think I kind of know what it means, but I don't want to use it incorrectly and look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Google it first.
The Google.
Yeah. Go to the Google. Yeah.
Now, both of these lead to problems, and they lead to underachievement with people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying that you have to maximize your potential in this rah, 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 go and get them, son. No, you don't have to do that. But I think when we have this life and we do have resources and we have abilities, we should largely use some of them for the betterment of other people. I mean, as much as I joke and sound like I don't care and I think people should be shot for coming to my house and all these things, I mean, most of that is kidding.
I know you care about making jokes. And
Shut up.
No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, I think we need to fight these negative resources by putting something positive in the world. Addictions can dick you up, whether it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, whatever.
And we can actually chunk up to the idea that instead of calling it an addiction, just a habit. What are the habits that a person can have that will be a drain on resources?
Right. Remember, addiction can be another way of saying
you're a dick. Yeah.
That's freaking brilliant.
I knew you were
That's
going
good.
there.
It's fantastic.
It's very family friendly.
Unforgiveness is terrible. Unforgiveness. When I was a therapist, so many people, if I helped somebody with pain and I happened to notice they had really bad rheumatoid arthritis, so their knuckles are all twisted and so on. I think of a couple of people in particular. When we could get them to forgive as an act of their will consistently, a lot of the time this would improve really, really fast.
Interesting.
And rheumatoid arthritis is it's an autoimmune disorder.
This has been 1 hour of
I know, but it's good. Now, the final one, regret, Chris, regret.
Well, I regret that we didn't do this episode sooner. Maybe 10 years ago.
If only they'd make it.
No, I actually regret. This is a really good one because we're going to be closing off this podcast and we're actually starting a really major project today.
Yes, we are.
We're re-recording a whole bunch of videos that we recorded 10 years ago.
Yeah, when I was a younger man.
And I could say this. I regret, Mike, that 10 years ago, I didn't have the understanding of the importance of lighting and better quality camera equipment and lenses, and I shouldn't have done all the video editing myself. I should have hired someone else from the get-go. I don't regret it. It may have been an error, but in a weird kind of way, I learned a hell of a lot, and at least we got it done. And now we have the opportunity to make it even better, which we'll do.
Absolutely,
so,
man.
Regret
2.0.
Regret can be a drain on going, well, actually, the nice reframe that you often joke about, and you go, isn't this, aren't you glad in a weird kind of way?
Yeah, the Brian Mandel intervention.
Yeah, you ask someone, aren't you glad in a weird kind of way? And, well, whatever you regret, you can look back and go, aren't you? And if you ask the question enough, with enough intention and congruence, usually people go, actually, yeah I am kind of glad in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, there's things in the worst experiences that can make us stronger.
That can apply to you being bullied and beaten up when you were a little kid.
Yeah, because you know what? It doesn't happen anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
To somebody cheating on you, to having a business partner who treated you badly.
Right.
I know that's happened to you a couple of times.
Naming every bad thing that's ever happened to me. Yeah.
Or just eating the wrong kind of chili pepper, Like the time I was in Mexico and I had a salad and it was supposed to just be a normal pepper. It was a
what actually
habanero.
happened?
Well, the waiter was laughing hysterically when I ate this, and he goes, "Oh, habanero! It's not supposed to be there." And it was really funny. So I'm glad in a weird kind of way. There you go. I don't regret.
No, you don't
like
regret.
That.
Don't
I
regret.
look back and laugh.
Which leads us to the empowering question, Chris. So take it away.
All right. What resources have I just become aware of because of this podcast? And what liabilities do I have because of anti-resources? And what am I going to do about it now?
Nice. And I have a short metaphor. When I was a little boy, probably about 7, We had just come back from a trip back to England since we had emigrated in 57. So this would be 1960.
Yeah.
And my parents always took us to a campground. And one place we went was near Midland, Ontario. It was Orr Lake. And it was a campground with a bit of a woods and that. And I thought it was all very exciting. We played swords and stuff with other kids. And there were a couple of boys there, and they were kind of bullies. And I was intimidated by them. And there was also a little girl from one of the, families that was staying there. And she was about 6, I guess. I can still see her face. She had red hair. And I know now, looking back, she must have had Down syndrome. And a quiet little girl. And I heard this noise in the playground area. And I was scared of those boys. I always avoided them. But something clicked in my head because this little girl had been on one of those merry-go-rounds, the ones you spin by hand, no horses or anything.
Yes.
And when I walked over, heard this screaming, she was hanging on for dear life. Her legs were horizontal, and these two guys were spinning it as fast as they could, trying to make her fall off. And something in me welled up. And I knew I couldn't take them on. But I ran over, I grabbed onto the merry-go-round, and I was a little boy, dug my feet into the ground and skinned my elbows and everything and stopped it.
Yeah.
And I told my parents, I got home and had all scrapes and everything. And my mom just said, "You did a very good thing there." And I thought, wow, it just seemed the right thing to do.
Thanks
again.
everybody for listening. This has been episode 224 of the Brain Software Podcast. Episode 2. That was a weird way of saying it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't regret it at all.
No.
I just learned from
starting
it.
to.
So make sure you check out MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We've got awesome resources for you. Keep listening to our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop comments. Send
Come
us
to
some
Toronto.
love.
Come and
Send
study
him some
with us.
whiskey. And thanks again.
And
good night.